Joining me now is Senior Fellow at Defense Priorities and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Colonel Davis, always great to see you. Are you confident that something positive will ultimately come out of this latest round of talks amid this so-called understanding that has been reached?
Yeah, well, causative, yeah, but it depends on which one, because for whatever may have been said there coming out of these talks today, it really depends on what the United States is going to accept and what, frankly, Israel is going to accept. And there have been so many advocates, and I'm talking people very close to the Trump administration, and definitely to the Israeli side, that do not want any kind of negotiation. Jack Keane, in particular, has argued that a successful negotiation would be a loss for the United States, and that they can't risk that, et cetera. You saw Lindsey Graham at the Munich Security Conference was almost begging for a military operation, saying that's the only thing that would succeed in taking care of American national security, et cetera. Obviously, I disagree strongly with that, but that tells you that there's a lot of headwinds inside the Trump administration to accepting whatever may happen there. And unfortunately, we also have to acknowledge we've got a lot of recent history of having negotiations and then being in the process of it when an attack comes. So I don't think anybody's breathing a sigh of relief just yet, but I am hopeful for any kind of diplomatic progress.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about some of those fears. But first, we have the special envoy there, Steve Witkoff, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They're being hosted, or they were hosted by Oman's foreign minister. President Trump had said that he would be involved indirectly. But do you think this is a case maybe where the actual leaders of the U.S., of Iran, would benefit from having some direct talks in some way?
If we get close to an actual agreement and somehow there's going to be some kind of diplomatic outcome that U.S. can live with, that Iran can live with, then absolutely it makes entire sense to do that. President Trump has shown from his first his term where he went and talked to Kim Jong-un. He talks to Vladimir Putin in places where nobody else would do it. So he definitely has a history of doing that. And I don't think he would hesitate doing it if he thought he could get something that would last. And I think that would be great, because anything that avoids this attack here is going to be a huge win for the United States. Because I'm just telling you, these threats that the Iranians are making, that if we attack, that it's going to be all-out war for them. I think they mean it, and they definitely have the capacity to cause a tremendous amount of death and destruction on United States and Israeli targets in the region. And we don't need to put them to the test on that. We can be safe without any of this, and I hope we go down that path.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to listen, Colonel, to some of what President Trump recently said about Iran and what happens if no progress is made.
We could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
All right, so we're also seeing, though, that Iran isn't necessarily afraid to take action. They announced this temporary closure of the Strait of Hormuz today for live fire military drills. We know nuclear capabilities are really just one portion of this ongoing disagreement between our nations. Do you think we are on the cusp of some type of military action?
We are unquestionably on the cusp of it. That's why I'm just almost hoping against hope that these negotiations can somehow find a way that both sides can just live with what's going on, because the alternative could be catastrophic. Iran does have some capability here to really hit us hard. It's not just empty threats here. They have demonstrated it last year in that 12-day war. That's the reason it only lasted 12 days, because both the Israeli side and the U.S. recognized that the air defense is not going to stop some of the better Iranian missiles, and they continued to get through at higher rates as that war went along. There's every reason to think that that would pick up where it left off there. So we don't want to go in. We don't want to find out, are they going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? Might they cause this disruption in global oil, which would send oil prices spiking? And then if you start having American casualties, then it's just nearly impossible to back down once that happens, because then the pressure would be to escalate and amp the thing up there, and then it could just go in a direction nobody could tell. And I'm just telling you, I don't see any win for the United States if we launch one missile. Everything would be a loss, and it would only be how much of a loss, because the chances of winning an error alone only war is very low. All Iran has to do is survive, Nicole. We have to physically win, or we come out on the downside, and that is a military objective that is so high and so expensive. I just don't know that we have enough wherewithal.
So we know that President Trump has ordered this buildup of U.S. forces in the region there. That includes 2 aircraft carriers. Colonel, let's say there is no immediate military action from either side. How long do you think that buildup is maintained? How long can those U.S. forces stay there?
Yeah, that's a real problem, and especially when you're talking about the Ford that's on its way over there. It already was out for, I think it's like 8 months already. So you can't leave it there very long before it's going to have some real negative impacts on naval readiness and our force posture around the world. And then, of course, that's on top of the other aircraft carrier that's there already. The Abraham Lincoln, and then all the other air power that's been sent there and surged up into the area. You just can't leave that stuff there forever. I mean, maybe a month, who knows how long, but anything, I mean, you can leave it there for a long time, but it's going to start costing you with readiness elsewhere, and it's going to get really expensive just to maintain that. So this is one of those things where probably within a few weeks, you either got to do something or send it home.
You know, and I think sometimes discussions of this magnitude, people can kind of get lost in all the details, but we know all of those military members, all of those U.S. military members have family members. How vulnerable are U.S. forces in that region if Iran or one of Iran's proxies does retaliate? How seriously should the U.S. be taking these threats from Iran?
They should be taking them very seriously. And I can just tell you categorically, our capability to defend from the air is good, but it's not great. And the Iran has the ability, the demonstrated ability, to penetrate even our best integrated air defense systems that we had over the really small area of Israel by itself. And when you're talking about these American bases, there's like 20 some odd scattered throughout the region. A bunch of them don't have the best integrated air defense. Some have limited, some have only like small tactical. If Iran is careful, and they're wise, they can attack the ones that have the least amount of capacity, and it gives them the greatest amount of chances to get in and cause casualties against Americans. If we go to war and Iran makes good on its threat to fire back, and there's no reason why they wouldn't, then we're going to have some casualties because they have the pinpoint accuracy capability with some of their categories of missiles, and our air defenses will not stop everything.
Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you as always.